Jurassic World Chaos Theory just released its second season, and a lot of people are already requesting that I talk about it. So let's talk about this latest season, but also, for those who are new, we're going to break down what this show actually is, as it has 7 seasons out now, with Chaos Theory just being the second season in a second arc, with there already being 5 seasons in the first arc for Camp Cretaceous. So while we will get into spoilery details later, especially for the disturbing trauma that the characters actually go through in the show, I want to start with talking about this show, how it got made, and why it's actually pretty good compared to the movies, if not better. Now, for those who don't know, Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous and Jurassic World Chaos Theory are spin-offs of the Jurassic World films done with 3D animation. These shows focus on an original cast of 6 characters led by Darius as they try to survive on the island of the Jurassic World theme park. Season 1 actually takes place at the same time as the first Jurassic World reboot film, and it's fun watching the kids deal with the same problems from that movie, often in more fun and interesting ways. By season 2, however, everyone else has been evacuated from the island, with the 6 Camp Cretaceous kids being left behind. Each season from there focuses on the children trying to get home, but uncovering different conspiracies about the theme park, and dealing with the various people and forces that all want the dinosaurs for their own profit. By the end of Season 5, the kids become natural survivalists who take down big corporations to not just save each other and the people they love, but the dinosaurs that they've come to love as well. Season 5 ended with the Nublar 6, as they are called, being rescued, and that was originally meant to be the end of the story. However, Jurassic World itself went on to have 3 movies, with the second movie setting up the story so that dinosaurs were now all over the world, finally getting off of that little island and into the wild surrounding humans. Camp Cretaceous itself was successful enough that Netflix apparently was happy to order more seasons, with this new arc, Chaos Theory, taking place after the dinosaurs have started to make it all around the world, and with the kids now a bit older. Now, a lot of people expect this to just be Jurassic World, but sanitized and cleaned down for children, and it does do that to some degree. But the show as a whole is also a lot better than the later Jurassic World movies. To be honest, the last 2 films were pretty underwhelming for me, and there's something the show just gets right that the movies can't. The Jurassic Park franchise has always been on the fence of being for adults or being for children, with it being one of the early films with this kind of carnage and death to have such a wide appeal with both. As a kid's show, these spin-offs get to focus on characters in a deeper way than the films do, though. Not just the child characters, which you can now take in these 3D animated scenarios and place them in more uncomfortable and dramatic situations, but they actually end up getting more deep development than the characters in the movies as a whole, even the adults. And with the first arc taking place over 5 seasons and many months on the island, you get to see the long-term effects of living on an island and trying to survive these dinosaurs every day. By the second half of the show, it seems like the characters are constantly just talking about the trauma they're going through, instead of just adjusting to it and acting like superheroes in every situation. While they do continue to fight on and eventually get off the island, a lot of the story up to there is just them getting more and more traumatized, and that's something the show gets to deal with a bit later in Chaos Theory. Then of course there is the way that the animation is used for the dinosaur action scenes. In the Jurassic World films, most of the dinosaur action is 3D animated, with the humans being a combination of 3D animation in later films, and also the real-life actors. But in Camp Cretaceous and Chaos Theory, both the characters and the dinosaurs are 3D animated, and that can lead to some more interesting interaction between them. The original Jurassic Park was a breakthrough in 3D animation that also had state-of-the-art animatronics, but is famously known for only including 15 minutes of actual dinosaur footage, and even the later Jurassic World films that use 3D animation are still very limited with how it can be integrated into live-action sets and with their real-life actors. In Camp Cretaceous and Chaos Theory, things can actually be even more tense than the films, I think, as they're able to more realistically animate those close calls with the 3D animation. Some of these scenes had me seriously tensing up and biting my nails, especially with the episode where they're stuck in the water exhibit with a giant sea dinosaur. However, because it's a long, drawn-out series of now 7 seasons, the show also gets lazy and can have some pretty generic chase scenes of dinosaurs just running after kids in a straight line, with the kids just always being able to stay out of their reach. Now, because this is a kid's show, the kids themselves were accused of never facing any true losses in the 5 seasons of Camp Cretaceous. Some adults, particularly villains, do get a quick death off screen, but the kids were pretty well understood to be safe from such fate for all 5 seasons. And that leads us to Chaos Theory, where the kids are now several years older and out in the world doing different things, with the story surrounding them able to be a bit more mature now. Most of the fans of the show had grown up with the characters, and the writers were now able to respond, at least to some degree, to the allegations of there being no real stakes or losses. To start, Chaos Theory opened with its characters all in very different lives from what they had before, with the show focusing largely on the consequences of trying to return to a normal life after everything they'd been through. One character, Yaz, struggles in particular because of the trauma she faced on Isla Nublar, and despite much of the crew still being rather dino-friendly, she retreats to a sanctuary where dinosaurs have not made it yet in order to deal with her issues. The characters all dealt with complex emotions around how long they had been on the island in the original show, but Chaos Theory focused on how that essentially shaped each of these characters as they tried to go back to live a normal life, some for good, but also some for the worse. This is where real spoilers begin, so turn back now if you still want to watch Chaos Theory, but the big story for Season 1 was about how one of the members of the Nublar 6 was supposedly dead. This was Brooklyn, the social media celebrity turned dinosaur activist who was allegedly killed by a random Allosaurus around Darius's home. The first season became largely about the characters dealing with the fallout of her death, with everyone thinking it a random attack, until Ben puts together that it was actually planned. From the original 5 seasons, we already knew that technology existed that can control the dinosaurs with essentially video game controllers, and Ben believed that they were being used to target not just Brooklyn, but the entire team. Now, from the get-go, the audience seemed to know that this death wasn't going to be real, and that includes myself. And by the end of the season, we of course found out that she was alive. But this is where it got crazy. The whole point of killing off Brooklyn was to convince the audience that there were stakes in the show. But whether it was because of the studio intervening and not allowing a death for a main character, or the writers genuinely wanting to keep having plots for her, it just didn't happen. Me personally, I imagine the creators did play with the idea of actually killing her off, but ultimately just wanted her to return. Not just to have a subplot like all of the others, but to become the heart of the story that she ultimately does. With that in mind, having her not be dead would have ruined the point of killing her off, which wasn't just to show off the sad emotions of the other characters before revealing that she was in fact alive. In order to keep the fear inside of us, we got something even more horrifying really, with the reveal that the Allosaurus that had attacked Brooklyn actually ripped her arm off. This is not unheard of in a kids show, as even in Adventure Time, the main character Finn has his arm ripped off halfway through the series, but here in Chaos Theory, it's just a lot more serious and realistic. Sure, Brooklyn recovers rather fast and still kicks ass, but the absolute horror of seeing her nightmares and then waking up to seeing her arm missing was traumatizing more so than her actual death was, and all the development the characters went through in response to it in Season 1. Death is among the most serious things that can happen, but to the average person, death is something they will experience more so than this kind of bodily injury, particularly at such a young age in life. We get so used to death in TV that storytelling-wise, having her not be dead and instead having a part of her just being forever ripped away is a lot more terrifying. While everyone else was dealing with the loss of her, it also gave Brooklyn her own loss to explore, a physical loss mirroring the loss of her friends as she went into hiding and faking her death. Now, in Season 1's finale, we saw that Brooklyn was alive and missing her arm, but it wasn't until Episode 3 of Season 2 that we started to get her story, and with it, the emotional journey that she went through in response to losing her arm. What she went through was something very disturbing, but also in many ways very human. As while some other animals can survive with some major injuries or missing limbs, humans are the ones who medically seal ourselves up after losing a body part that normally would lead to our deaths. And then we take care of each other when we have these injuries, sometimes for the rest of our lives. There's a call for a lot of differently abled representation in media these days, and this brings a very intense example of this to a character that fans already knew and loved for 5 seasons. A character some of them may have already thought that they had lost. Brooklyn, of course, isn't ruined by this change, and while she does struggle with it at first, even in Episode 3, she seems to grow very appreciative of what she has left of her arm, or really, what she has left of herself. She gets a haircut after this, not just visually paralleling the loss she faced, but visually paralleling the changes she is going through internally as well. This played into the existing themes of her character in this season, who even before disappearing, was already changing her hair rather drastically, with her being noted to even accidentally change her hair to the wrong color at some point. In this episode, we learned that Brooklyn was chasing dinosaur black markets, which ultimately led to her losing her arm to the Allosaurus, and that she didn't stop her mission when she went into hiding. Instead, she managed to actually infiltrate a dinosaur activist group and manipulated them to get even closer to where the real corruption was. Through this, Brooklyn is able to get to the home of Soyono in Dubai, where she tries to infiltrate her life pretending to just be a delivery girl. Soyono invites her to stay and make a painting of her, but it becomes something of a therapy session for Brooklyn, who gets to admit some real feelings about how she has been treated different since losing her arm, hinting at her feeling like she might be treated different by her friends as well. This is important because Brooklyn begins to lose herself in this new identity of sorts, even when Soyono admits that she knows that she is one of the Nublar 6 that Soyono has been targeting. The loss of Brooklyn's arm, but desire to continue with her mission, made her realize the depths of what she is willing to become in order to complete her mission, changing completely from what we knew her as, even at the end of Season 5. And the rest of Season 2 focuses on her playing with darkness to appease Soyono to get closer and closer to the true people at the top of this pyramid. It's not enough for her to take down another bad guy like she had done at the end of Camp Cretaceous with Kenji's father, but she wants to take down the entire network. And in order to do that, she had to promise the other members of her team to Soyono, citing them not being for her the night she was attacked as reason enough to sell them out. Of course, she really doesn't want to sell them out, but she clearly has complex feelings, and she ultimately plays deeper and deeper into her evil persona in order to keep advancing. By the end of the season, she has earned Soyono's trust by saving her life, and that's actually where Season 2 ends, with Brooklyn choosing to double down on her plans to uncover this crazy network, and leaving the other members behind as she takes off on a plane with Soyono. It's certainly a crazy approach to the Jurassic World idea, and honestly, a lot better than the movies have been in my opinion, but Brooklyn was the absolute star of this season with her story. And now I'm curious, what do you guys think about it? Not just about her development as a character, but where the story will go in Season 3, and how crazy it is that there's like this entire Jurassic World show that normies who don't watch cartoons just don't know about. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next time.